Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, Alon Shaya, executive chef of Saba, and so much more, here to tell us about the restaurant and his cookbook. Welcome to our table.
Thank you very much,
Great
Peggy.
to see you.
Thanks
Hello.
for having me.
Absolutely. And Alan Smason of Crescent City Jewish News and TheaterCriticism.com. Poppy will be back with us next week. Later in the show, we'll be visiting with actor and musician Harry Shearer about the Krewe Delusion's Night of Delusion. He is once again their monarch. But first, Alon, so much to talk about. Actually, we're going to do it in two different segments tonight. But the restaurant, congratulations.
Thank you. We're so happy with Saba. It's been amazing. And we've also opened Safta in Denver, Colorado as well. So It's been keeping my wife, Emily, and I very busy.
Yes. Now, the reason you are in New Orleans is because of her. Is that correct?
Well, I moved here in 2003, and Emily and I actually met in 2007. So I was here a little bit before we met, but ever since I met her, she was a diehard New Orleanian, loved the city more than anything, and she really helped me fall in love with the city and kind of showed me. I was always just like working around the clock up until I started dating her. And there's actually a chapter in my cookbook called A Day Out for Dates. And it's about when I started dating Emily and how she really got me out into the town and got me into all the things with Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest and going to see music at the Maple Leaf. And before that, I was working around the clock. Yes. And I thought, New Orleans is great, but I haven't really seen much of it. And so she really helped me fall in love with it. And that's one of the reasons that I call New Orleans my home for forever.
Well, many folks will remember, of course, that you helped start Dominica and now with your own restaurant here on Magazine Street.
Yeah, I lived in Italy for a while and apprenticed out there right after Katrina. And, I love all things Italian and Italian culture and Italian food. And so I moved there about 6 months after Emily and I started dating. I moved to Italy. And she would come out there and visit me, and we would go and explore and rent a car and travel around the country, and I would learn so much about the food. And then I came back and I created Dominica at the Roosevelt Hotel. But then in 2017, Emily and I got a chance to start working together, and we created Pomegranate Hospitality.
And of course, Saba, the outgrowth of that. And the interior, and I know we have some photos, the interior is very contemporary, and it really represents many styles of Mediterranean food, and Middle Eastern food, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's Israeli cuisine, which is more than just Middle Eastern or more than just Eastern European. It's also Yemenite, and it's North African, and it's Greek, and it's Russian and Bulgarian, where my Saba and Safta were from Bulgaria, and Romanian food. And so we're able to really kind of like explore those different cultures and put those together on a plate, and really stay true to the dishes and the cultures that they come from. And, the Palestinian culture that has been there for so long is such a huge influence on what happens with the food, the Syrian and Lebanese influence. And so we really celebrate all of that, and we tried to, bring people together through delicious food.
And a reminder, on Magazine and that side street?
Yeah, Nashville.
Yeah,
we have great outdoor seating there. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
Yes.
We love it.
Now, you were originally from Israel. I know you've been in America for a long time, and you were in Philadelphia. You grew up in Philadelphia.
I grew up in Philly, yeah.
But I love all those influences. Well, you've got show and tell. So would you tell us what you brought today?
So it's Mardi Gras season, which we're very excited about at Saba, and our team has just been throwing around all of these creative ideas for Mardi Gras. What do they want to do? How do they want to celebrate it? And so Chef Kara Peterson, who's our chef at Saba, created this beautiful king cake that's really a babka king cake. And babka is pretty much king cake. It's, dough rolled with cinnamon and sugar and rolled up. And Kara puts cocoa powder and different spices in there, like orange blossom water. And then she does a pomegranate caramel and drizzles it over the top. So to say babka, to say king cake, it's really kind of the same thing. We just got a chance to kind of make it our own, and really happy with what Chef Kara has put together, and people are going crazy for it.
And we've also got another one.
Yeah, so rugula is a classic Jewish dessert. You see it in a lot of Jewish delis throughout the Northeast and also like in LA and Miami. And so she made these beautiful rugula and topped it with Mardi Gras colored sprinkles. So there's your non-traditional, but it's also king cake in a bite. It's
Sounds
one
good.
bite king cakes.
So folks can order these through the restaurant.
You can order both the king cake and the rugula on our website at eatwithsaba.com, and go to the it pops up. Go to the catering site, and you can see all of this stuff that's available to buy. Also for Mardi Gras, we're doing cocktails that we're selling, large format cocktails. So we're selling cocktails by the half gallon. So you can order not only a Saba sampler, which is a selection of hummus and baba ganoush and lutenitsa and tabbouleh, all the things that we love making at the restaurant, along with wood-fired pita. So you can order that for your party, the king cake for the party, the cocktails for the party, all available online at eatwithsaba.com, and we've been getting a ton of orders, and people have been
Great
loving
idea.
it. Yeah.
Good. We'll be right back to you. Earlier today, actor Harry Shearer stopped by to tell us about his royal reign in tomorrow evening's Krewe Delusion. Even though things are very busy in your life, Harry, we're delighted that you are a committed Orleanian when other gigs and places don't take you elsewhere. But tomorrow night, so exciting because once again, you are a monarch of the Krewe Delusion.
Yes.
What were your memories 11 years ago?
This is a sort of a remedial monarchy. The one 11 years ago was the first time Krewe Delusion rolled. I was its first monarch, the king plenipotentiary, as I style myself. And they'd built this nice float for me, nice in the prospect. It was a ship, and I got in it, and we rolled about 10 yards towards the start of out of the den, and I hear this loud noise and feel this pull of gravity, and the bottom had fallen out of the float. Oh. And what was supposed to be a nice ride turned out to be a 2.5-hour walking parade.
Walking, oh well.
And fortunately, the captain of the float had induced, somehow, the Dirty Dozen to march in the street with us for the first time in some time, and so I had the motivation of the Dirty Dozen behind me. So that made
That's
it a lot
very
easier.
good motivation.
It is great motivation indeed. Yeah.
I love the scale of that parade, and of course it follows right behind a coup de vue that night. But we're talking baby dolls, brass bands, the trash formers.
Yes.
I love that, and this is a crew with giant baskets, bicycles with baskets on them, where they're picking up trash.
Yeah. Very contemporary.
Very contemporary,
Yeah.
being very, very green.
Yeah.
So how will you be dressed tomorrow?
I have robes which were handmade by one of the volunteers in the crew, and a crown similarly. So unique, one of a kind pieces. They will not be up for auction immediately following the parade, I'm proud to say. But yeah, I mean, it reminds me again, as I'm reminded every time I go through Carnival here, of all the work people do for nothing. Sheer joy of making other people happy. And to me, Carnival, I know some people in town flee it. To me, Carnival is a time when you just open a door on a world where people work hard and are creative for the sheer joy of making other people happy. And then the door closes and we go back to the normal world.
Well, so beautifully well put. And I know you have, a regular public radio show, every show.
Yes.
But what else are you up to these days?
I realized a couple months ago that I had, over the last few years, accumulated a sufficient number of songs about our current president to do a record. So I'm in the middle of making that record right now. I think it's going to be called the Donald Trump Songbook.
So some satire in the future.
Yes.
And your beautiful wife, Judith, I know you all play together when
Yes.
she performs.
Sometimes
Singer
she allows me
pianist.
to when her regular bass player is not available. And I think she's in the process of putting together a little version of a new show she's working on that might be done here as a workshop, which is a song cycle about the women in Picasso's life.
What a great idea.
Yeah, and the music is remarkable, so that may be happening pretty soon.
Well, as the Krewe Delusion monarch, we toast you.
Thank you.
We hope
I
you have
toast
a
you right back.
fabulous ride, and thanks for coming by.
And thank you for contributing to the delusion.
Absolutely. And Krewe Delusion rolls tomorrow at 7 p.m. in the Quarter. And the parade route, of course, begins actually in Marigny on the corner of Franklin Avenue and Royal Street. It goes down Royal and then over to Toulouse, to Decatur, and it ends at DBA on Frenchman. Visit krewedelusion.org to learn more. And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Richard A. Rizzo told us who was the starting quarterback for the Colts when the Saints played Indianapolis in the Super Bowl of 2010. And what hometown was the quarterback from? The quarterback was Peyton Manning, and of course we're talking New Orleans. Now tonight's question. This crew always refers to its monarch as King Sargon. Another crew does not have a king, but rather a dictator. Name the crews. Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Our prize is a year's subscription to Louisiana Life magazine. Tonight we have a shirt with the message Hot Date from our friends at wearablevegetables.com. We also have a pair of complimentary French Quarter walking tour tickets. And this one says nice legs. But anyway, there's also one that says hot dates. Go to friendsofthecabildo.com and .org for more information. You can go to wyes.org/steppinout for our online calendar, including the Plessy Art Market's February Carnival Market. That's this Sunday from noon to 5 p.m. at the Homer Plessy Community School. The market will feature costume pieces, handmade gifts, student art, jewelry, and live music provided by the band Paradise Swing. By the way, you can link to WYES's YouTube channel to see our program. And speaking of YouTube, you can now also find our friend Arthur Hardy there as well. He does a vlog on all things carnival. Search for Arthur Hardy's Guide to Mardi Gras on youtube.com. You can also find more of his Mardi Gras content at mardiggrasguide.com too. And now Alan.
Well, a rare occasion. You've got two men at the table and both Jewish today.
That's
So
right.
that's wonderful. I wanted to start off, again, a little bit of, I guess you might say a late time for me because he started up last month, but we just had so much going on in theater that we wanted to make sure we did not neglect to mention Spencer Rocca, because with a little bit of the curl of the lip and a little bit of a swagger and certainly some hip shake in there, Spencer is at the BB Stage Door Canteen and he is giving tribute to Elvis Presley. Now, in much the same manner that he did Frank Sinatra for more than a year, Spencer is really doing all of the songs that made Elvis famous, just like he did Frank Sinatra. But this is really Spencer's forte. He actually started doing tribute shows to Elvis. And I don't want to call him an Elvis impersonator because it would really be unfair to Spencer. Spencer really puts his own persona into his craft, and it really is a Spencer Rocca show, not somebody trying to duplicate or emulate Elvis in sort of an imitation fashion. I would tell you that as a tribute artist, he's fantastic. He starts off, of course, with some of the early Elvis things like That's All Right Mama and, of course, Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel, those sorts of things that you'd come to know. And, of course, in the first of his costume changes, he changes into what I would call, after the early Elvis, the comeback Elvis and the black leather that you remember from the 1968 Elvis special that was on NBC. And then he commences to do a number of the songs that you would associate with that, with, One Night With You, It's Now or Never, those sorts of things that Elvis, of course, had as his favorite favorite songs and things of that sort. And then eventually he goes to Las Vegas. He makes his third costume change, and that's when he does a jumpsuit. Now that is his own very own jumpsuit that he's featured with me. So you know that he loves Elvis when you manufacture your own jumpsuit, in tribute to the King. So those of you who have not seen it, he's backed up, I want to just say, by wonderful Tom Hook on piano, Charlie Kohlmeyer on drums, Sean Ryler on guitar, great bassist there as well. And then they use a little convention of Jimmy Murphy speaking through the radio and describing Elvis's life. So you've got a wonderful show. I just have to tell you, it's going to run for several months. Try to get your tickets. You can get a brunch opportunity on Wednesdays to check it out. And I really do recommend it very highly. Spencer Rocca at the World War II Museum. Now, let's move on just a little bit because aside from Elvis, we have a whodunit going on. That's Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. And those of you who are not familiar with it, this is the longest running play in the history of theater, other than maybe some Shakespeare works. But in terms of continuing productions, it has the record for the world. And again, this is a whodunit. You've got 8 characters. The wonderful Maria Victoria Hefty, who's in it, Owen David Jones, Samuel Thomas, Helen Blank. Also, our very favorite Cammie West is in it, Joey Dodo, Michael Stokes, and Dominic Jarda. They all have an ensemble cast, and they all are going to answer the question of basically who perpetrates a particular murder and murders that are going on, a serial murder, if you will. And again, we're not allowed to tell you who the murderer is. At the very end of The Mousetrap, you are admonished not to reveal the secret. But again, there's the detective who is investigating, and they have all these wonderful characters that Agatha Christie has woven, and you never know exactly what's going to happen. Twists and turns aplenty in The Mousetrap. That's going on now over at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center. And just a shout out also to Kristen Blatchford, who did the set design. They have filled up that Jefferson Performing Arts Center so fantastically with the set that just fills up the stage. When they first started, it was sort of like the old East Jefferson sets that they were trying to fill up in that space, and now they really have made it more intimate, and you really feel like you're in an old English manor when you're seeing the play. Also, wanted to talk just very briefly about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We have the Sanger Theater's big production coming up next week, opening up on Tuesday night and running all the way till next Sunday. And those of you who have not seen it, it is a wonderful show with music and lyrics by Mark Shaman, and of course, let's not forget Scott Whitman, his writing partner. I saw it on Broadway, and I was very blessed to be brought backstage with John Rubinstein, who was playing Grandpa Joe. But if you've seen the movie, you'll love this. They do have many of the songs that were in the movie as well, which they've tailored for American audiences. But it's a great show. Kids will love this.
All right, thank you so much. And now it's time for our Artist Spotlight. Tonight we are featuring the work of Cuban-American painter Peggy Mendizabal. And this piece is titled Guaguacano 2020. His debut solo exhibit, The Parade Ends, will be on view through March 13th at the Jonathan Ferrara Gallery right there on Julia Street. New paintings reflect the life that the artist Mendizabal once lived in Cuba and mixes those memories with elements of his life in New Orleans. Visit Jonathan Ferrara Gallery.com for more information, more details. Now back to Alon. A cookbook.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So
Lots of work on something like that, but it's more like a memoir and a cookbook, correct?
Yeah, I didn't know how to write a cookbook with recipes like hummus and jambalaya and gnocchi all together in one book. And so I figured I might as well just start at the beginning of my life and talk about food and how food really changed my life and how it provided really a roadmap for me to follow and continues to. And I've learned so much throughout my career about just the power of food and how much it can mean to people and how much it can bring people together. And so I wanted to share my stories and talk about my journey, all of the ups and the downs, and I had a pretty I would say exciting childhood, if you will. Got into a lot of trouble. Was definitely on the wrong was the wrong crowd, not hanging with the wrong crowd. And I had a home economics teacher named Donna Barnett who really saw something in me and helped to show me a better path forward.
And the name of the book?
is Shaya. Yeah, of course, my journey back to Israel. And it talks about how I spent my whole life really kind of pushing Israeli food away and Israel away, because when I was 4 is when I moved to America, when I immigrated with my family. And so I was very embarrassed by that. I wanted to be like the same. I wanted to be like everybody else in Philadelphia, outside of Philly where I grew up. But I was different, and I was an immigrant. And it took me a lot of just, self-reflecting throughout the years. And food really helped me to navigate through all of that. And eventually, when I opened an Israeli restaurant in New Orleans, I was finally being true to who I am and not pushing it away anymore, but really embracing it. And once I started doing that, I think like everything really started to change. And so now with Saba and Safta, I'm cooking the food of my grandmother and the food that my mother taught me how to cook. And also our chefs are, that we just took them to Israel with us so that they could explore the country and see the places that inspired me, get a chance to cook with people in their homes. And we did that, and now that inspiration is just like flourishing, and the chefs at the restaurants are doing such amazing work because they have their own stories to tell, and they have their own experiences with the cuisine and with the country, and that's how stuff like this comes about, like Chef Kara just really putting her heart and soul into the stuff that she's doing.
Now, you wrote it at a unique place.
Yeah, I was telling you that, the cookbook, I really needed, this was the most writing I've ever done in my life. And I have loved writing, but I never actually had to do it on a deadline. So I needed a place where I could really focus, and I would go to the CC's on Esplanade and North White because it's close to my house, and I would sit there at a table facing the mop bucket because I needed no distractions. And so the only thing I would look at when I looked up from my computer was a mop bucket and the entrance to the kitchen. And when I found myself sitting like right by the glass windows on beautiful oak tree lined Esplanade Avenue, looking around, watching people riding their bikes and, having I would get too distracted and I wouldn't get any work done.
Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Time for our picks of the week. Alon, your pick.
My pick of the week is a dinner that I'm doing to benefit the Shaya Barnett Foundation, that home economics teacher I told you about, Donna Barnett. Her and I started a foundation together, and we're throwing a dinner on March 17th at Saba Restaurant. Chef Nancy Silverton is coming all the way from Los Angeles. She's the owner of Matzah Restaurant in Los Angeles.
That's big.
And started La Brea Bakery, and she's a huge, huge success story. And she's coming to cook with me. And we're going to raise money and have a live auction. So please go to eatwithsaba.com. You can see where you can buy tickets for that, or the ShayaBarnettFoundation.org.
Thank you, Alan.
And congratulations. Alon was just at the Chef's charity luncheon for St. Michael's, and he had the last spot, which is the coveted star spot before we eat. So congratulations to that. And Saba and Safta, he didn't mention, they mean grandfather and grandmother. That's the tradition that's really being extended. Now, let's go to what's happening on the stages, though. The Vagina Monologues is going to be seen at the Ashe Powerhouse, and I wanted to mention that that's going to be coming up on the 15th and the 16th of February.
All right. And before we go to my picks, though, here's an excerpt from Tchaikovsky's Joan of Arc opera, and it's actually, the libretto is in English. It's at the Mahalia Jackson Theater, and let's take a look.
Her dress was
And special thanks to photographer Craig Kramer for that wonderful excerpt. There is one final performance this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Visit NewOrleansOpera.org for tickets. And now my picks. The Professor Carnevale show, which Vatican Loki may look slightly familiar, will be taking place tomorrow and Sunday for free in the Ty Tracy Theater, Gallier Hall. The show explores the history and culture of Mardi Gras and features games, prizes, and a little parade. Visit carnevale.eventbrite.com for reservations. Brecht Fest, too, celebrating the German playwright and poet Bertolt Brecht. That takes place Monday at 8 p.m. at the Twilight Room at the Always Lounge on St. Claude Avenue. Part of the proceeds will benefit the Innocence Project, New Orleans. Visit the Brecht Fest 2 page on Facebook for details. Love Letters, featuring TP, an Advocate Society editor and actress, very talented, Nell Nolan, and longtime news anchor Dennis Waltering. That takes place on Valentine's Day, next Friday at 7:30 p.m. It's the Loyola University's Lower Depths Theater. Call the number on your screen for details. And if you would like to hear more Mardi Gras discussion as well as learn more about Carnival, our own Errol Laborde and Rich Collins have a new podcast, Mardi Gras Beyond the Beads. And it is also on the Apple broadcast and podcast and podcasting apps as well. You can also find them on myneworleans.com. on their homepage. Now, though, we wanted to leave you with an excerpt of, sadly, Billy Asperides, who passed recently. We were kind enough and thrilled enough to have him. He was so sweet to come on and be on our show. And here he is performing with his Lagniappe Band on our program from 2017. The band featured so many luminaries: Bruce Rayburn, Ted Hefko, Sherman Bernard, Chris Sharkey, and Asperides on guitar. Here is a bit of Asperides' own composition, Bank Account Blues. Thank you all so very much for being here, and thank you for watching. Good night.
Bags all packed, gonna head down the road. I got my bags all packed, gonna head down the road. Don't know where I'm going, but I'm carrying a heavy load. I'm gonna close my bank account, leave town tonight. I'm gonna close my bank account, leave town tonight. Seems my baby hasn't been treating me right.
This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area. Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich.